Well, welcome everyone. Terry Palma back with Bev and Royse, and what a historic night this is to have our podcast. You know, election night is here, and we hear that it's going to be a record turnout no matter what way you're leaning. It is a historic night, and we'll just start with that. I know I was just talking to the gals that my intuition was to go at 9 o'clock and vote because I figured all the early voters that had to get to work would be gone. But I got up early. I was sitting around, so I went at 7:30, and I had an hour and 17-minute wait. But I got my vote in. So later, my wife went about 1:30 or 2, and she waited 15 minutes. And then when I went to the store at 3:30, I go right by my polling place. There was no line absolutely outside. So I should have followed intuition as always, and but that was my story for the day. Ladies, how are you doing, and what's your voting story today?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 28. And I loved it. Love it that you fess up, and we do this. We question ourselves. And it's like, follow your intuition. You know it deeply within, and still we sometimes fight that urge. And it's like, duh. It's like, okay, if you want to wait an hour and 17 minutes, go right ahead. Or if you want to go later, like you said, and you can wait 15 minutes. But anyway, I love the story. All right. So we'll talk about, today's a big day, actually across the world. And, of course, the election's here in the United States, and it's happening now, and anxious to see how this is all going to turn out. We've been told how it's going to turn out, but I think everybody else is going to find out, hopefully in the next few days, or maybe tonight, but probably not. We'll see how that works out. But one thing we wanted to start off with tonight was people are taking part. And Terry, you said a record turnout, and it's amazing how much interest is in this election. So you can see people waking up and saying, "Whoa, do I want to continue with this president, or do I want to go with the other president?" And I listen to a lot of other channels and podcasts from other parts of the world, and all eyes have been on the United States because what we do here affects everybody. Mm-hmm. And that can go into each one of us, what each of us feels and thinks, and that our thoughts become things. We mentioned that in previous episodes, but that how much we affect ourselves and everyone around us. So we affect everything because we're all one. So, but I just find it really refreshing how many people are taking part this year and want to take a part into what's going on. And I think it's dynamite that people are waking up to this.
Yes, we've sat around way too long and let everybody else take control and do what they wanted to do. So when it doesn't go the way that we would like for things to turn out, then we wake up and we start taking a part, taking responsibility for how we want to live. And so thus the turnout for the voting, which is magnificent. People are actually doing something instead of handing the reins over to someone else.
Right, because we all matter. Everyone matters. So, well, every episode we talk about what came up in our meditations when we get together, and last week we did indeed get together, and so I want to share some of what came through to me. And I'll start with this, and then Terry and Royse, you can jump right in. Gallant force is upon you in your world. It's around the bend. Look no further. It will come to you. Time is right. Final bout. It's happening. So the word gallant means brave and heroic. And that force, it is us. They said, look, it's around the bend. What does that mean to you? And look no further, it will come to you. It's really within you. So I don't know if do you have any comments on that, Terry or Royce? Nope. All right. So the other thing I was hearing is that you are seeing yourself more clearly now, and indeed that's why we are so taking part of what's going on this very day. All right. Also, in last week's meditation, we were getting the words the word Groundhog Day, and it goes along with some of the stuff that Royce had gotten. And I kept hearing the word, analogy, Groundhog Day analogy. And then I received, build it up, take it down. Build it up, take it down. Build it in a new way. And you want to have any comments on the movie and what that means?
Well, in the movie, the main character was locked into a certain way of acting. And it wasn't until he was willing to change himself and did change himself that time progressed, and it was the next day instead of doing Groundhog Day over and over and over again. So, and that relates to us as a species. We don't move on to the next level until the species itself makes a conscious effort to change. And that's where we are now as a species, making a conscious effort to change, to do something new.
Yeah.
Well, and also on that same issue or topic, I think 4 years ago when the country elected the current president, I think that was the change that started a snowball effect or a dominoes effect that's continuing today and has brought out the turnout. It doesn't matter who you are voting for or what side you're on, but the 4 years that have preceded coming to today has led everybody up to awakening that they must get involved. And that is, I think, how it relates to the Groundhog Day. It started 4 years ago, and I believe it's going to continue after tonight. And I think much more awakening is going to happen. People are going to be surprised at what happens, but it'll give them a chance to retrospect and look within to see, okay, what does this really mean, and how does it affect me?
Good. Yep. That's all of us to do that.
Yes.
Remember, we are the ones making the change, and we're seeing ourselves in a new way, and we're no longer complacent. And we're like, wait a minute, I don't want to be controlled. And we're starting to see all these control mechanisms. I think we've talked about that in other episodes, but man, I'm really seeing it now. And a lot of people have been silent about it, and now they're speaking up, and they're feeling free to speak up. We talked about that last week, feeling free to speak freely. And we're seeing all the censorship going on, and what happened in front of the Senate the other day, and the Twitter and the Facebook and I think the Google heads were being questioned. And we can see a lot of the censorship that's gone on. They're censoring what we can see, what we're hearing, and they want us to follow blindly. And we're like, well, wait a minute, I'm not doing that anymore. No way. And because we are waking up, and some of the controllers don't want us to wake up, and because it ruins their whole thing. And we're like, hey, wait a minute, you're not going to control me from what I think and say, and for me to be whole within myself. And, as they say, sheep no more. So we're seeing this play out, and it's just very interesting how it's playing out. And I thank these people for doing this because it's forcing us to understand ourselves more fully. So, all right.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Absolutely. You mentioned something there. I don't know if you want to get in more detail. You mentioned controllers. That to me meant, all right, I'd sure like to know who are the controllers, who's controlling. I'm not sure if I'm aware of exactly who, but if you can clarify that, that would help. Or not.
Well, you want to go there?
Well, no, I'm just opening that door, and you can shut it if you want.
No, that's all right. Well, there have been quite a few people that have opened up about all of this, and I think David Wilcock is one of them, and there's been a lot of others. A lot of people.
Dr. Greer.
Yeah, it's a lot of them, and there's a couple things I want to go through if I can remember this. But some of these mechanisms, what I call it mechanisms, programs have been put into place. And why they want to control the world, I really don't know. To me, it makes no sense. But there's reasons for it, and it goes back to quite a few different families and the kings and the queens and the way wars were won back. I'm talking a few hundred years, and it may have gone before that too. And and now that part of being a part of a program. Programs, and now that we're waking up and seeing that we're so much greater than that. The families, European families, bankers, some people have used the word cabal, Illuminati. I hope we can say this on YouTube because I know those words have been censored. The other word that's been used is deep state. And some people say, "Oh, I don't think that exists." I do because I've seen it. You can see what's going on. It's like, wait a minute. And there's a lot of telltale signs around the world that explain this and how they want to decrease the population of the world. And you think that the pandemic was happenstance. I brought that up. That it's like, well, I don't think so. So. There's all these things going on, and you're like, holy crap. I'll try to keep it polite here. It's like, this is really going on? Or is this just a mistake? Or is this a bat that got sick in China that infected the world? It's like, I don't think so. So there's a lot of stuff going on that because us humans are incredible beings, and much of our energy has been harnessed by other beings, and now we're saying no, because we are magnificent, and we're realizing it now.
And
let me bring up something here too. And again, I'm not a scholar on this. I'm going by what I think and believe is correct. So please don't hold me as a scholar on this. But the controlling started even when our founding fathers freed ourselves from British control and got the law of rule here. But you remember, just since we're on election night, what's the Electoral College all about? Now, the Electoral College is bound. These are people who are chosen to be bound by what the popular vote in their particular region state is, that the first round they've got to vote for them. But the way the Electoral College came about, my understanding is that the Founding Fathers, there weren't many people that were educated when we first got our freedom. So they didn't want uneducated people electing officers to control the government. So the Electoral College came in with people that were more educated and could help in the electoral thing. So, even back then, the government, our Founding Fathers, were controlling. And I think over the time, the people that have ruled that and made things like, let's say Dr. Greer, who's very knowledgeable on UFOs and sightings on that. Well, according to him, our government has known about and has access to actual beings from other areas. And because they were afraid of how the public would react or what they would do, they've kept that all secret and behind them. So the organizations that know things are keeping things from the people from the pretense that people can't handle it and we want to protect them. And I think what this awakening is happening with Dr. Greer coming out, with David Wilcox, with what this election is going to do, what started 4 years ago, and what's going to happen tonight and open people. We're tired of them protecting us. We want full disclosure. We want complete transparency. Let us decide for ourselves. We can do it. And I think that's what this movement's all about. We are tired of having secrets kept from us, trying to protect us. And the people want to know transparency, full disclosure, and I think that's what we're moving. That's just my take on this whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that. There are certain beings. I was going to say off-world, but they're not off-world. Many are on inner Earth or whatever that feed on fear, and so there are ones that that work with them, and they don't have that emotional abilities that many of us have, and so they want to keep that fear. They want to keep that divisiveness going. And what does that do? What has the pandemic done? Keeps people in fear. Keep wearing the mask. It's a barrier. And is that really keeping out the virus germs? From what I'm reading, no. But if it makes them feel that they're protected, that's something else. So it makes them feel safe, and so that thoughts become things type thing. And so indeed, that mask does protect them because that's what they believe. We had talked about that recently. What you believe, you perceive what you believe, and so that indeed can affect us. All right, I do feel very strongly that a lot more will be exposed in the coming few months. And a lot of these control mechanisms will be outed, so to speak. And it's part of outing ourselves, things that we've held within, and all this releasing that we as humanity have been going through will continue. And so some of the things, my understanding is that we may be a little surprised about some of these things that are going to be exposed. And, of course, many of us have known about the UFO and had those experiences. Yeah. And one sitting here has had a lot of experiences there. And so we've known this has gone on for years and years and years. So, what kind of programs have we been working with other type of beings? And I'm not saying they're all hostile. Most of them are not. And we've talked and worked with a lot of different beings and other star systems recently. And they've asked us to help out, and so we help out. So I guess I'm putting that out there. But it's just interesting that more and more people are going to feel safer to even talk about these thoughts that and experiences that they have gone through, and they are not crazy.
Yes. I did want to bring out something, and it may be going down a touchy avenue. The thing about communications towers, you're talking about control mechanisms. Back when the cell phone towers were first being put online, I started hearing signals that I had never heard before. And so I tried to search out some people who could help me to figure out where this was coming from, because it was getting worse and worse, and to where it was beginning to have an effect on me. It was making me very edgy and just ill at ease. And so I found somebody who was willing to track it down. I had written down the date and the time and everything, and this person tracked down that there were 2 cell phone towers. I was positioned in the middle of them, and they were put online the exact time that I started hearing these signals. And soon after this, I started having thoughts that I knew were not my own. It was not the way I was brought up. It was not my personality, my character. It was just some very irritated thoughts and thoughts of just horrendous things. And so I have started putting the pieces together and figured out that these signals are flying through our brain. Our brains are picking it up. It's not just going to our telephones. It's not just going to communications devices. It's going through the air, going through our brain, and it is having an effect on us. And if you think that it is not, then I'm telling you, you are sadly mistaken. So what do we do about this? The first thing you do, you get mad because it's like this thing is in place. It is so big. It's probably not going to be able to be stopped at this point. I don't know. It would be wonderful if it could, because there are a lot of people who have become very fond of their telephones. I'm fond of mine. It's very convenient. But these signals that are flying through my brain are not very nice. They're not convenient. It's not only something that I hear getting louder and louder, but it hurts. It hurts my body. So what can we do about that? First of all, you have to be willing to accept that, wait a minute, something is happening here. I'm having thoughts that are not mine. So you have to fess up to that fact first. If you're not willing to see a thing, you're not going to be able to do a thing about it, And so I have had to be kind of creative in coming up ways to protect myself. When I first start having those thoughts, I have to recognize it first, and then I go, okay, how can I change this? How can I lessen the signals? And it takes an awful lot of concentration. And I'm just bringing this to everyone's attention because we need to do something about this. You need to do something about it your own selves, to get a grip on your own thoughts, to become stronger in your own thoughts, to raise your own vibration so that you're not so affected by it, because our society is being affected. And so that's all I have to say about that.
Well, one thing I
go ahead.
Okay. There are devices out there that you can get that will help if you use your phone quite a bit, that you can ELF devices, like ELF stands for extra low frequencies, or they call it, I believe they're called ELF devices. You can even go online, I think you still do that, and find a lot of devices that will help with that. And I know there's a plate called a Tesla plate that helps absorb some of those energies that you can put in your home or near your devices. There's some stones or I got hematite in my hand right here that I keep next to my computer that helps absorb some of the energies that come off my computer. So there's things that you can do that help, but that doesn't mean that they're still not in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
actually,
go ahead.
Bev, you're actually right. We on this phone, I need to get it back on, but I used to have an some kind of electromagnetic shield that I had taped to the back of my phone, and we did extensive muscle testing with and without the shield on phones, and 100% of the time when someone had a shield on their phone and muscle test, their strength was back on and not any weaker. Yet if they didn't have it on their phone, they were extremely weak. And 5G is not helping. It's making it even worse. So I would recommend that everybody go on the Internet, look for an electromagnetic shield that you can just tape on all electronics, a microwave, a phone, whatever, your computer. I had them on all of them. And they're not that expensive. You buy them in bulk. But it's worth getting them, because how many times I use my phone, mostly on speaker, because I don't want to bring it up to my ear and close to my brain. I just do that automatically. So I agree with what Royse has said and with Bev.
Yes, and I want to bring it to everyone's attention that it's not just when you have your phone with you, because I hear these signals constantly anymore. I used to have a break every once in a while because of what they were doing with the towers, in their process of bringing them online and taking them down and adding to and stuff like that. But it's a constant thing anymore. So whether I have my phone with me or not, I hear it. So what I hear, everyone else is getting the effect of it, whether they hear it or not. So.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Wow. Well, we've talked about lots of different things tonight, and I thought I would at least add this because I'll go to one of my books and just open it. So I was guided to my second book, and so I opened to the last chapter or the last writing, and it's called Freedom. So it's like, okay. So just a couple of sentences here. Well, I'm going to ask this question: is what does freedom mean to each one of you that are listening? What does that mean to you? And I'll give you what I've been told. So, either of you guys want to take or tell me what freedom means to you? Terry?
I don't think I'm going to touch that one tonight.
All right. Freedom is you taking all of your own power and using it to create the most magnificent life you can imagine. Mm-hmm. That's it. And I was told you will experience freedom like you never have experienced before as a human. There will be no need to have any of your limiting laws you have created so you can live more harmoniously with one another on your earth. I just thought I'd add that because I think that's where we're going. Mm-hmm. And last week we talked about the great reveal. I think that's what's coming up, and then the calmness will come.
So let me retract what I said. I will comment because you brought something to mind as you were talking. As soon as we realize that everything that happens in our life, the encounters we have, the people we meet, the situations that present themselves, as soon as we realize that we are the direct cause of every one of those things and that we can change them in a twinkling of an eye, then that presents freedom for you. You no longer are blaming anybody for your circumstances or situation. So once you understand that and realize that is the truth, that does set you free.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. Yay! Yeah, it does. And does that feel good?
Yep.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, ladies, we have 2 minutes to the half hour. I don't think there's anybody on that might want to ask questions, but let's wrap this up and kind of put a nice bow on it for the evening. And I'll start with either one of you two.
All right. Well, everybody hang in there from what's happening right now. A lot more is to come. A lot more will be exposed. And some people will be shocked and others will not be. But those of us and many of you or those of you who are listening are ones to help other people that don't have quite the understanding of what's really going on, and for us to help them through these processes and to help keep them calm. And because we're going to have anger, we're going to have all kinds of things going on. And it's like, no, let's just calm ourselves and to help other people do the same thing. Not react, but act. Go for it.
Terry, do you you had mentioned something before we got started about going down a certain avenue. Would you like for me to say something?
No, I think we covered it as far as what I was talking about. I brought that up and I think we've talked, so I don't have any need to go that way unless you want to.
Okay.
I'm not sure we can cover it in a minute.
Well, there's a lot. I'm going to just say this. There's a lot of things that we've been hearing and from other channels, other some people will call them prophets or whatever, and a lot of interesting things. And so use discernment in everything that you hear. And so we'll see if some of this stuff comes to pass. And we know what we get. Each of us get, and we may feel a little differently than another, even though I love reading and listening to some of these people, because then it awakens more in me. But there's other people that say, hey, I don't want to be influenced by them. So it's your personal choice. Everything's your personal choice, and right. Whatever's going to feed you wholly. WHOLLY. Okay.
So, Royse, if you have something you'd like to share, because I'd like to close the night with something special, so I'll let you go first, and if not, then I'll close it with what I planned on doing.
Okay, well, I don't think I had anything else to add except I love you all.
Okay, great. So I'd like to close the night tonight is my mother's birthday, who passed September 29th, so I just want to wish her a happy birthday.
Oh,
happy birthday, Dorothy!
Happy birthday, Dorothy! And she was quite the spark. And you can understand Terry. And if you knew his mother, she was such a dear and quite open. And she was one that was awakened her whole life, right, Terry?
Absolutely. And, you awakened me.
She's a beautiful soul, as are you.
Definitely.
Thank you, guys. And our next show will be on the 17th. At 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in then, or listen to us. Look for our channel on Conscious Gatherers on YouTube. So until then, be safe and enjoy the election results. See you later.
Good night.